Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Hope you're doing well today. It is Thursday, March 7th. Right? Yeah. Yes, March 7th. I have a song that popped into my heart. It's an old Baptist hymn. Well, let me say classic Baptist hymn that we used to sing in church. And I particularly remember my grandmother singing it. I can hear her voice even more. She's still alive, but so I don't put that energy on her, but I can hear her singing it, called Yes, God is Real. Yes, God is real. He's real in my soul. Yes, God is real, for He has washed and made me whole. His love for me is like pure gold. Yes, God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Yes. Now my grandmother, she has a high soprano voice, so she sang it in the choir and and around the house in a much more sweet soprano sound, but that's the gist of it. God is real. God is so real. God is, if it ain't real to nobody else, God is real in my life and in my soul and my being, alive and well. So I'm so grateful for that reality check today. And if you are particularly of a Christian background, I'm sure you're familiar with the song, but if not, the message is plain and clear, however it resonates for you. All right, so let's see what we got today. Some people that don't believe God is real. The Seven of Swords, energies that look to kill, steal, and destroy, like anything, for the most part, trying to get away with murder is the energy of the Seven of Swords. Somebody that very deceptive, dishonest, trickster energy. For the most part, every now and again you can glean something somewhat positive from this energy, but 9 times out of 10, even if it's someone that's trying to like escape with some news or transport some information secretly or whatever, it's still something a bit more underhanded, something that would cause for some type of concealment or secrecy. And I don't know. Perhaps sometimes there is a necessity for that, but most times this energy is something that you would want to more or less be aware of and protect yourself from accordingly, however that gets to be. But also, I would like to say on the sideline is that usually it's a matter of someone being caught up in their own web of lies or deception at some point in time. So it's not much that you really need to do proactively or aggressively against energy such as this, as much as you just need to be aware, mindful, and alert of how you can erect strong boundaries against it, So again, that could be lies, that could be manipulation, it could be literally someone looking to steal energy from you, or to assassinate your character. Is definitely a aggressive, and in the lowest vibration, it's an aggressive and offensive energy. They mean to be anyway. So maybe energy that would even strike against, that would want to steal your revelation of the Spirit of God within you, or about you, around you, the presence of God in your life, to steal that comfort of knowing, that security. Yeah, it's a breach of security. And with it being swords, it is a mental breach more than anything. So projecting certain narratives or realities in such a way that would make you question, the presence of God at all, let alone within you or for you or around you, like your security and safety in the covenant of God. And I'm using God loosely because if you know by now, you know that God, for me, almost feels too small of a word. Yes, I know it's in the Bible, in addition to many other names, and certainly God not being the original language of even that title. But for me, sometimes God, given I've grown up referring to that energy, the most supreme source of all as I know it, as God, rolls off the tongue, because that's just what I know. And that's also the most immediately recognizable and relatable when we're talking about a certain power or force of energy. And so all that to say that it's not to be exclusive or to be discriminatory against anyone or anything that may call God by some other name or have some other reference of that spirit of supremacy outside of themselves or within themselves, however you see it. Even there's a range in that. But that's exactly, I think, the purpose of energy such as this, that would make you question your truth in that regard. What is God to you? What are you to God? Is there a disconnect between those two ideals, or are they one and the same? I feel like that's the greatest, when we're speaking of kill, steal, and destroy energy, that's really the greatest point of attack from oppositional forces, to make you not only question supreme presence, but also your existence within it, your covering by it, or your security within it to some degree, to make you feel threatened. That's what it ultimately is, to make you feel like you have no protection or no covering, let alone favor, something even far more expansive than just survival. To be a threat to your mortality is the energy of the Seven of Swords. I'm gonna get some more. I feel some more to say on that, but I'm gonna keep going. Yeah. But that energy is not going. It's like it almost has to kind of give up. You know what? I'm gonna come up here. Let's see what we got up here. Let's start. So perhaps that's been a long-term investment of sorts in creating that, manipulating your spirit to question, in this case, everything So I'm seeing it two different ways, like this energy having to almost like give up the ghost type of energy, but also the intention being to cause one to just kind of walk away from everything that they believe, but not in a sense for the purposes of new discovery, which would be ideal beyond the Nine of Cups, to find what it is that truly holds value to you and that does offer that Nine of Cups spiritual fulfillment, where you are completely satisfied in, let's say, how you worship, what you worship, if you worship, like all of those aspects of God that would be a direct connection to self and the identity of self within it. This is the energy that will want you to just like abandon the path of discovery or belief altogether. Like nothing's real, nothing's worth investing in. Perhaps maybe having found out some new truths about what you've always considered to be absolute. Representative here in the Eight of Cups, where you've invested a lot of your energy, love, vitality into a belief system, an idea, a way of life, perhaps a spiritual practice, perhaps just like, just a way of life that was just second nature to some degree, and finding yourself to be, if not dissatisfied with that exchange, just curious to know more or to go deeper or expand your understanding or your horizons. This is the energy that will want you to, instead of taking it the high road approach, just to go and expand and explore, would want to make you almost feel destitute, is what I'm feeling in that journey. Like, the energy where you may figure out the presence of God or the energy of God as I'm speaking on it. There's never a reason that I'll start with something or say something that doesn't have some influence or resonance in the reading. To start with such a traditional song that I grew up listening to in the church, I grew up listening to my grandmother sing. The reality of that song is that even in the lyrics, it refers to God as He exclusively. I don't refer to God in gender unless, like I said, it's just the slip of the tongue, because that's what I've been conditioned to do. But really, for me, wholeheartedly, God is just so much greater, bigger than even the word God itself, as I've said. So to designate a gender exclusively over another, when we've, as men and women, have been made in the image, and that duality alone is something that I was reconditioned to reimagine to some degree for my own personal belief systems. It's not saying there's anything wrong with saying he or she or whatever it is you fancy, but that's just me. Now, given my deep roots in the Christian church, there are a lot of things that even in the way I'm holding court right now spiritually that would conflict with those roots, that I, again, had to recondition and reimagine myself and reimagining my reality and repurpose also in a way of worship and devotion that makes sense to the calling that I feel connected to on my life. But the energy would want to keep you in the opposing energy, the one that even would want to attach to frequencies within yourself, your own self-awareness and blessed assurance, dare I say, another hymn, to make you feel that if you're not working in a certain confines of expression, let's say, then you yourself should not be privy to the connection to God in any deep sense or definite sense, for sure, that you actually would be more or less on the outside of the sanctity of that spiritual communion or covenant. But that's, like I said, it's an illusion, it's a lie, it's to steal and kill your joy, your sense of worthiness to enter, the sanctuary of Supreme Source in whatever way that looks to you. And just as in the Bible days itself, when certain people were allowed to worship in the temple and certain weren't, and even within the Jewish heritage, if you were, say, even as a feminine having your menstrual, you couldn't come into the temple until you were cleaned and washed and cleared, and so many things, so many constrictions that just ultimately create a wedge between what should be without void, self and supreme. From my experience and from my understanding and my commitment to conscious creativity, that's the my present perspective and point of view. So this could be, for one that would, for instance, once I myself, this is becoming very personal that I didn't intend, but I guess, hey, I sang the song, now I gotta speak the testimony. When I decided that it was time for me to leave traditional worship by way of my commitment and devotion in the church, in the Baptist church that was my home church since I was a baby, that I still love and honor the people and the presence of to this day. But there was something that called me elsewhere, and I knew that I couldn't coexist in all spaces. I can here, I felt the calling of inclusivity here where I was being led to, but I didn't feel like that would be welcomed. Whereas at the time I was one of the praise and worship leaders, just active in the community of church in a way. And that being a Baptist, if you know anything about denominations, Baptists are some of the most conservative of the Christian order. Not that my church isn't loving and accepting, because they definitely are, but I just knew that I had to make a choice. And that not even so much even the choice of I can't be here if I'm doing this, but it was more so that I needed to go broaden my horizons in a way that wouldn't be contained by what's the word, like that my consciousness wouldn't be impressed or influenced by any it's the word that's on the tip of my tongue, prejudice, particularly by way of religion, So there with that came a squabble in the spirit, at least initially, as to, somewhat, not too much, because once I was sure, I was sure, but the energy that wanted to rear its head was for me to feel disconnected altogether, or feel like I may not even have rights to sing such a hymn as "Yes, God is real." How dare you when you're reading tarot cards? How real is God for you truly? Like that type of contention that you have to deal with when you feel called to do something that's outside of convention. It can be a joy stealer and a kill joy, and it can cause more of a void in your natural vitality than what is productive or prosperous. Thankfully, I kind of averted that those pitfalls just by staying devoted, and even to this day, when if anything should arise, which is much less now than than before, I return to the truth of my my affirmed identity in the supreme source of all as a supreme being myself, and aspiring to be more and more in that regard daily. That is my devotion, that is my worship. So, and this is just a practice of it, you know, what I'm doing here, bringing a message however the Spirit guides me to do so. But yeah, it was a journey to get even to this space, and I know that I've not even scratched the surface yet. So if anybody was offended, right, exactly. Not even scratched the surface. It's so mystical and so magical at the same time that, you know, I'm not even 100% sure of where I'm going and where it's leading, but I know that I get to keep going. It's a privilege and an honor for me to do so, into the dark, into the unknown, into deeper spaces of worship, even to some degree, in ways that may not make sense on the surface. And I'm saying this in a very first person type of sense, like personally, because it must be relatable to the contention of anyone listening that might be or have been at a crossroads between what was expected of them and what they felt they were being called to or called to do or be first and foremost. Yeah. Let's see. Wow, look at that. Ace of Cups, and that's the overflow right there. I feel like I should put that up there. It makes much less sense down there with him. Or perhaps that's what was looking to be tainted. That makes sense. To be tainted, poisoned. You know, that because this is like the overflow of the divine right here, objectified in the Ace of Cups, this unconditional love that is ever present, right? So it's not a matter of you do this to get that, but certainly sometimes, particularly by projective interference, you can feel like you may not be privy to it because of whatever the inhibitions may be. And then to find the evidence of that, or to see the evidence, to feel the evidence even more so of that overflow in your life on account of how you followed your intuition. That's the moon card here. You followed what felt right, even when you couldn't see your way through it or beyond it, for that matter, amidst great interference and resistance and opinions and, you know, like, what's the right word? Objections, for sure. Maybe even offenses against. To then come on to the other side, a much brighter expression in this card, and literally connect with the Holy Spirit. It's like, this is what you were traveling to all along. When nobody got it but you. Nobody understood why you needed to walk away, or why you were doing the things that you were doing, or why you were choosing not to do certain things over others. You were being called to the highest expression of love, to become one with it. That's what that is in the Ace of Cups, to feel it for yourself from the inside out, and then for it to, of course, pour outside of you, pour from within you. That's powerful. Okay, let's go. Come on, cards. Don't start acting up. We've been doing good. Okay, here we go. There we go. All right, we got the King of Cups. Ooh, World card. Interesting. Very interesting, because I'm getting like a closing of a cycle of being vulnerable to emotional manipulation, spiritual. Ooh, I just heard spiritual mutilation. What? Up under this Seven of Swords and this King of Cups. That's why I was like, I want to move that over, because this is something else here. This is an energy of spiritual assault. As the World card energy is naked and vulnerable, but it's the end of that dynamic. As the World it's like the choice to commit to something different, to the courage, I would say, more so than anything, to venture into uncharted territories, to dare to see beyond the veil that was prevalent, at least over your own eyes, if not universally speaking, is what was able to close this cycle of vulnerability and victimhood of assault. To be constant, like to be, I would like to, what's the word? A concubine, a spiritual, wow, it's some real strong language. For your spirit to be held captive by untruths, by lies and illusions, presented by energies, or presented in ways, at least, that seemed trustworthy or seemed non-threatening, is what I'm picking up. The difference between the Ace of Cups and the King of Cups is this is limited by human facility and, I would say, even dysfunction in this case. The Ace of Cups is pure, it's untainted, it's ethereal, it's the essence of God itself. That is so mystical and unknown that we don't even really know, we can't even agree on what to call it, you know? The never-ending debate of what God is has been going on for lifetimes. And some energies take liberty to impress upon a reality or a truth that is more captivating and psychically assaulting to some degree to the sense of self that would naturally see identity in supreme and as supreme and in source if left to their own devices to do so. So this is a very intentional interference here that's being ended. That's been conquered to some degree. Wow. Star card in reverse. Now, I don't feel this reversal, but this might have been the energy. You know what it is? It was the celestial identity was hidden. It was concealed. Because in truth, yeah, and it kept people that see, especially here in between, it was like the way to healing was being obstructed, intentionally so. By illusion, by confusion, mischief, mayhem, to keep this was the road to healing, but right as you are at the precipice of that journey is when it was deflected, could have been deflected to you that you were going the wrong way or making a mistake or that's not the right thing to do or you're out of alignment, God's not pleased, like any of that energy. Or even practically speaking, like it just doesn't lead to success. You're never going to make money doing that thing. That job is a dead end. That relationship is a lost cause. Move on. All those types of energies and opinions and all types of stuff. Any and every opportunity was taken to invert the process of healing. It was happening anyway. That's why I know I'm probably going to turn this upright before I even finish this row, because it was happening naturally, as I said, on its own. But there was so much resistance to that natural process that it prolonged it. It made the road harder, made things more difficult, like it intensified the obstacle course to some degree, made the light dimmer and darker with all the projection and propaganda and interference and opposition and lies, manipulation, offenses, assault, like everything thrown on the path to just like, no, don't heal. Don't see who you really are. Don't see what you have the potential to be or do or what you are worthy to have. Like, just stay here in this little box where you depend on God for everything and you're nothing without God and God don't need you and you're just pretty much like a liability to the kingdom of God more than you are an asset. Like, these are the illusions that one in some cases had to turn away from, the ways that this cup was tainted with poison. And before we knew that it was poison, we were just drinking it up and please may I have another, Familiar cycles, entrapment and as I said in the beginning, and connections and just a way of life that was comfortable and nostalgic to some degree. Like, it's just what's always been done. It's how we always do things, what your father's father and their father did, and your mother and her people and them, and like we go to church on Sunday and every like all that, because I'm limited it to church, but it's not even just about religion. Clearly that's just how it came up today. It's just about a way of life. And what I was feeling kind of connected to the message yesterday, because I just posted the song My Way today that came up in the reading yesterday, that no matter how much you were turned upside down, or the truth to the way of life was inverted from your perspective, somehow you still found your way to it. And that is the true miracle with this star card upside down. I feel that so strongly, that in all the ways that you were resisted to ascend, and all the odds that were pent against you, still somehow, it's like literally, if you get into this card, you defied gravity. Ooh, I love that. You defied gravity, because it's like she's pouring, or he, but she got boobies or whatever. Pouring in, I mean, if this was a strikeable message, certainly it is today with the world card and the star back to back, but it is what it is. She's pouring out into the earth and into of the spirit and of the earth. This is spirit and truth, natural and celestial being, defying gravity where she should have been falling on her head at this point. You still maintained some level of groundedness throughout all of the turmoil and trial, and in some ways tribulation. While you had people smiling in your face, pretending to be leading the way to love or offering you unconditional love, even having to see through that facade was a great feat, because it's quite convincing. It looks sweet here. And in some ways it was, because in a lot of ways, like, everybody that you may have had to disconnect from, or everything or every place, wasn't necessarily demonic, or even in this energy where it was intentionally motivated to destroy you. But it's just that with the odds of it, them, or there versus the ultimate ascension, there was no point of competition. You could only have one or the other. And sometimes that meant defying legacy or tradition in some way, shape, or form, in a way that no one else has, or certainly that you weren't expected to. And it doesn't always mean that that's a strike against the energies that may feel obstinate to you in regards to your choices. It just means that you had to make a choice beyond what was limited to you in order to kind of expand into the infinite, as it's projected here. Like, it's like, yeah, that was good. Nothing was wrong with it. Perhaps for many, family wasn't necessary. I mean, a lot of times family just thinks they're working in your best interest to protect you. But sometimes, as it is with them and who they came up under or had to, venture out independently from, sometimes what is best for you is not visible to those that think they know best. That journey to self is a very solitary one, and it's not really to be explained or even understood, sometimes even by you to some degree. Is to be experienced. And there are certain definite decisions, objective decisions, I should say, that get to be made along that way to even gain rites of passage in the first place. Like, you may not even get on the path until, for me, if I hadn't made the choice that I made when I did to leave my post in church and move on to some other things, I may not have discovered the depths of my creativity in the way that I have so far. I probably would, and even though I'm saying I'm just scratching the surface, I may not have even done so much. You know, I may have succumbed to the weight and pressure of gravity to just say, oh man, forget it. Let me get back here on this choir, or get back in praise and worship and doing the thing, the ritual of what I know to do naturally, because I know that that's what's expected of me. I know that's more palatable, more understood than what I'm doing right now. You know, especially given sometimes I don't even know. At moments now I do, I'm clear. But there were times when it was like, am I doing the right thing? You know, like, is this the way? And certainly I had evidence in my waking life to support that to some degree, if I was measuring by societal standards of success, though. And that's the difference. When you're going through that, you're piercing that veil, you kind of got to be blinded to those points of measurement, or else you will succumb. That's when gravity does take over and ascension is subdued or inhibited altogether. So, yeah. And here was that point of decision. It's like I'm speaking it before the cards come up. Here is the point of decision making. Here, that balancing act. Like, do I take this or do I take that? How do I manage expectations, even my own, with what I feel I'm being expected to explore? Or I should say this, how do I manage expectations with how I feel called to evolve? That's a better way to say it. Earthly expectations at that, with Pentacle energy. How do I manage earthbound expectations with how I feel called to evolve ethereally? Bam. That's it right there. Sometimes the two are just on they're on two different pages, two different wavelengths, or perhaps there's a place to meet in the middle. At some point, you know, it becomes a synergy of energy, but at first it feels very much so like what's the right word? Like an ultimatum. Yeah. Yeah. And in the moment, nobody can really understand that point of confrontation but you. Ooh, yikes. Death card, well, that solidifies the end of that cycle, as I said. I mean, couldn't be no more clearer. And a transformative new beginning at that, which I love on the upside. That's the end of that. Some energies absolutely have no life whatsoever, no jurisdiction in your energy, no connection to it, no influence on it, no impact. Could be people, places, and things, but it's certainly more the energy, the signature of, what did I call it? I called it a lot of things. It was some real heavy hitter some real heavy hitter energies that I was speaking to over here. Assault. I guess it's over, right? So maybe that's why I don't even need to say no more. Exactly. The end of that burden. Because you decided that it was. Moreover, you decided to lay down the burdens that you willingly carried, the responsibilities, the obligations, the expectations, the guilt and the shame, the heaviness of what was expected of you or projected, I would say more so, upon you as a point of responsibility. Like, here, you carry this torch. This is what you're supposed to do. That could range from anything, like I said. It could be religious or spiritual to just being expected to raise your kids a certain type of way or to do things in a certain familial fashion, traditionally so, to pursue a certain career or occupation, to run the family business, to express yourself creatively and in the talent and skill that is traditional to, your family line. Say you're a creative family that sings or dances, or you're artist or whatever, to have the expectation to carry on that torch, particularly in a certain type of way that may be conflicting to how you feel called to carry it. Back to my post on the community tab, doing it my way. There's something powerful about that song to me. And it's not about being defiant, like you can't be told anything, or, nothing matters but how you see things. It's the opposite. It's being able to see all things clearly and knowing exactly how you fit into an ideal and how you contribute to it and how you create some nuance within it. That's what really evolves legacy and creation forward, ascends it to higher levels of consciousness. Not just continuing the same old cycle and the same old rut over and over again, carrying the same old burdens of the ancestors past that missed opportunities, but because they did it this way, we gonna do it too. It's like really kind of taking inventory over what's been working and what's not. How can we improve our experience, our energetic experience? It takes someone that, is quite courageous. And with this star up inverted, I'm also seeing like someone that is revolutionary. They're just not going to do it the regular way. They're going to do it even more than revolutionary. Something deeper here with this star, especially once I got to the message of defying gravity. I don't have the word for it. Because here are the burdens here, and you still ended up in a star position. Never mind the upright or inversion, because as I've established it, it speaks more to the ingenuity of the process, how you handled the process of healing, than it actually speaks to how what you've amounted to, because it's a star that doesn't look like anything else anyway, and it's not supposed to. Okay, couple more. Seven of Cups. Here's the veil of choices, where it seems like you got a lot to choose from, but it's actually kind of limited depending on your perspective of things. And this is the one that sees, again, speaks to that claircognizance is what I'm sensing. To see beyond what is evident, honestly. Like, nah, there's more than that. I sense it and I believe for it, even if I can't necessarily see it. There's more than just these seven. This is like the lesser, feeling like you're forced to choose the lesser of evils, when it's like, no, I got more choices than that. There is an ultimate. And this could even speak to the veil between the divine, like you can worship this way, this denomination, you do this way, this religion, this text. These are the things you can do with within the boundaries of being called a follower of this or that, or a patron of this or that, whatever the case may be. And it's like, what? Says who? Who made these rules? And they'll tell you, oh, that's in the Bible. But then you got to consider, well, who even wrote the Bible? Because we know, even as I said, from the title God itself, Justice, that's not even the ultimate name of Supreme, of Source, of God. Well, here I go, because there's no other, it's like that's the confinement here. That's not even the ultimate or the original by its own text. Like, you would have to go back to, of course, Yahweh, is the original expression. And then there are even more than that. So the original text says, or the ancient text, because original is even a dispute, right? Let's call it what it is, So here's the veil of, this is what you have to choose from. But the reality is that it's so much more infinite and expansive than that when you just consider the options as they are, as you see them. So it's kind of hard to be limited in the sense where you dictate to someone else how they should perceive, what they should perceive, how they should practice, how they should worship or not, when there's plenty of room for question within one's own system of beliefs. And that's okay. That's totally okay. It's up to that individual to decide if there's more to be explored or not, or if they're happy with what they got going on. But it's certainly not in anyone's jurisdiction, as sometimes we often take liberty to assume, to dictate what someone else is right or wrong, righteous or not so, for believing for themselves or not believing for themselves. The only thing we get to do is to explore in a way that we become an example of the endless possibilities of self-discovery, and be the highest expression of whatever frequency or vibration that we connect and commit to. That's truly a pure spirit of worship and the expression of divine love, living and letting live. And that's the contention most often with organized religion as it is because it becomes too much of, even at its best, it's still laced with prejudice and judgment outside of itself. Yeah, like a this or that. Like only one thing can be true at once, and that's just not so. Yeah, look at this. And I'm done. Wheel of Fortune. the ultimate universal expression, the infinite, fate, destiny, which is so unique, one to all, one to another. As I said, it can't really be defined. Certainly can't be confined, because it's infinite, it's everlasting. And if anything, that is the reflective force of self, the infinite possibility of potential, past, present, and future. It's also an indication of wrapping up that karmic cycle of all of this that I've spoken about, of limitedness, limitations that would obstruct the path of self-discovery or the process of ascension, to just allow a person to hold the capacity for creative consciousness beyond containment, if that makes sense. That's what the Wheel of Fortune represents. The favor and the fortune, meaning the authorization and the divine support to make that a mission, that it's calling you to it, out to it, more so than it's confining you to any one place or defined space. It's calling you out to the unknown. Wow. That's where fortune is. And that is like a total disparity here between, as I said, the Seven of Cups, where it's like, no, that's all you got. Yeah, it's the best you can do. Make your choice and get on with your life. To a windfall, like unlimited wins, unlimited favor, unlimited access, eternally so, like no confinement whatsoever here with the Wheel of Fortune on who you can be, what you can do, and what you should and could have. The veil, see how it like dissipates here, is the fog here with the clouds, and it's like clearing away, and that's what's happening now in real time. The veil's being lifted, and some things are like hard to believe. You look at these symbols and entities and things of that nature, and it's like, what? That was here all along? That's what I've been privy to. That's where I've come from. This is what I can do. This is what I'm inheriting. And it is quite astounding. So sometimes there's comfort in the limitations, so you know, you feel security there. Like, I know that I can do this much. It's a bit daunting at times to know that you actually can do anything. And to have to manage that reality with, or I should say beyond, the limited scope of spiritual awareness that you come from. It's like a shock to the senses. Like spiritual overload to some degree, if you allow it to be, because as I like to say, per momentum education, overwhelm is a choice. Overjoyed is a vibe. King of Swords, the ultimate choice maker, And the Queen of Cups. Interesting here. Let's see. So here, okay, I like this combination because it's like the assertiveness, the objectivity in a very proactive sense to make wise decisions and wise choices, but the discernment and the spiritual and emotional intelligence to co-create energetically in the frequency that is beyond logic, if that makes sense, to balance these two energies, and masculine and feminine being like perfect duality in this case. For either one that could be even listening, not to say this is for the man, this is for the woman. It's the embodiment of both of these energies, not to tap into your spiritual intuition, your intuition and your emotional intelligence, supremely so. Like, to know that it's trustworthy and that you have authority, like it's been vetted and purified, particularly by way of all this evidence here, to be reliable and credible. You can trust that. And you also have the intellect, this is ingenious energy, as a matter of fact, to be able to process how to place those emotions, or how to be placed within them, or how to transmute that force fuel into something that practically makes sense, and that would allow you to make a proactive decision or point of action, or even what is the word I just heard? Damn, it was something I just heard and it came and went. But like to make like an assertion, a grounded assertion of all the things, the whole picture, not being flooded by your emotional intelligence or even your emotions. As I said, it could be quite astounding to discover yourself in a way that you never had before and have new energy to manage, not to be overwhelmed by that, overpowered or flooded by that energy, but knowing exactly how to disperse it, to designate it, or to use it as in the design of whatever creative consciousness you feel divined to commit to. I feel like really it's just supremely magnifying emotional intelligence on a mastery level. Again, claircognizance. That's what it is. All the senses online, more or less. The spiritual and the I keep saying intellectual, but there's something else that another word. I guess intellectual is fine. But all the senses, to be able to see in spirit and in truth, and then move accordingly, respond and react, and maybe even be proactive by those projections. That's some real power right there. That's some real power right there. Because that gives you perspective, past, present, and future, to be able to see, as I'm moving this card here, what things of the past and of tradition get to be incorporated into whatever this new expression of world and will, fortune is, because everything is not a throwaway, of course, as even that song came up into my spirit today and encouraged me in a special way. It's like not everything has lost its value, and not everything is a lie, and not everything that may have proven itself to have a different or new meaning than you always knew it to be is disposable, and then of course the opposite is true for all of that. So knowing what of it all has value, what is fueling for the spiritual senses, because this is like the incorporation of the Ace of Cups in your material waking life. but also knowing of it all what gets to be active and what maybe gets to be deactivated, laid to rest. As we move forward in something that is new, there's still place for the traditions and traditions and nostalgias, comforts of the past to regenerate with that evolution. But it's up to each individual to decide what that looks like on a personal level. That is your righteous right. Not only does Spirit trust you to do that you've been empowered with that authority, that is the way to inhabit this fortune of sorts by assuming that authority and accountability for self. And here lies, back to the beginning of it all, the narrowing, if not diminishing altogether, of that void between self and supreme. All right. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.